Digging down in that naughty bucket again, reaching for challenge locks, and I found one from Johan. That's how you pronounce that. I can't even begin to pronounce. Pretty cool card he included with several challenge locks. This is an ASA, nice wide open keyway. You can see through it. I think there are no finger pins or anything like that in this one, so straight up challenge lock. He calls this challenge lock number 4. He did give me a key with it. And there's the key, mummified, along with the key for another challenge lock that he included. But hopefully we don't need no stinking key, because Johan sent along these beautifully polished Goso picks. He says he not only spent a lot of time polishing these, just beautiful. Look at, probably see my ugly face reflected in there. But he also modified the tips. And I've learned long ago that when someone sends you a challenge lock with some handmade picks, there's probably a reason for that. Probably need them. Before we do it, let's go ahead and try to improve our chances of getting a pick. I'm going to go ahead and lube this with some magic juice, but you guys are going to be surprised. I'm not using WD-40 because you guys usually scream about that. This is something sent in by a guy named Chase Blaskin. I think he lives in Canada, and I think this stuff is also made in Canada. I've never seen it before, but I've been using it for about a month, and I'm very happy with it. Let me wipe that off my hand, put a little too much in there. Because it's just as slimy as WD-40, except it doesn't stink like WD-40. There's no smell to this stuff, so that'd be the man's perfume, right? Alright, we got that thing clamped up. I'm going to try, since it's nice and wide and open, I'm just going to try, let me wipe that off a little bit. I overdid it with the Move It. Try top of the keyway and see if we can make that work for us. And I think maybe not. We got a little curve in the top, so I'm going to use, there's a set of these serrated tension wrenches you can get. I'm going to use the fat one, I think. Plenty of room up there, and I believe it will work. I learned this little trick from Waddock 2 a couple years ago, and I've exploited it. Alright, I am going to use the medium hook that Johan polished. Before we do that though, let's make sure that Move It is worked in pretty good. And let me see what we're working with here. I think there are 7. Let me try that one more time. I count 7 pins in this ASA. May be wrong, but that's what it felt like 2 times. So, alright, little tension. Assuming that this has serrated, because it is after all a challenge lock, so very light tension. In fact, I'm going to zoom a little bit so maybe you guys can see if I get feedback, or if I get a fault set, maybe you can see it a little better. And I'm feeling mostly all springy pins, and that's what we got. So I'm going to apply a little bit more tension this time and try to make one of them bind up. No luck. A little more tension. I got nothing. I might have been up against that first pin with my tension wrench. That's the bad thing about this technique. Really got to watch it. Alright, let's see if we can. Come on, pin 3. Got a little click out of him. So let's go back and look. If we get no other binders, it tells me that pin 3 needs to be picked again. Let's give him another click and then keep looking. I felt no turn on the core though, nothing at all. So he's probably not picked. So let's do it again. Okay, I got 2 clicks. That was an accident. Okay, that was pin 6. I got a very slight turn on the core. back on pin 3, and I got another click out of him. That's pin 2, and I got a good fault set going now, so we're on the right track here. And pin 1, he's still springy. Alright, let's find another binder. Since we have a good fault set, tells me there's probably we're hung up on a spool. And there we go, very deep fault set now, so I think we either picked that spool or we found another one. This thing's really deep fault set. I don't know if you can see that. I am on pin 6. I'm going to move to the deep. I mean, he gave me this for a reason, right? And I'm getting feedback from somebody. Let me find him. Okay, somebody in the back. Okay, I just touched pin 7 and the core turned just ever so much more. But we're still hung up on probably a spool somewhere. Pin 7. A little bit of counter rotation. I don't know if you can see that. Come on, baby. Wow. I had to undo almost everything we did, but we got an even deeper fault set now, which is probably means there's another spool in there somewhere. See if I can check pin 1 there. I have a little trouble getting him with this technique. I am getting counter rotation on 1 now. Wow. Very deep spool. I think we got him. I think we also lost some of our fault set. So maybe somebody else just fell down. And there we go. Alright, it was pin 3. Definitely some serrateds in here, guys, and at least 2 spools. I think the spools are probably in 1, and I think it was 6. But we have a key for this, but let's go ahead and see about opening it up. Let's see what we got here. Got that. Let's move the picks out of the way. And we're going to need... Aha! Looks like a brass keeper. I have a pair of pliers here to spread them. Thank you, Kerpish. Come on off there. Not quite. Not quite. If that doesn't work, I'm going to get a hammer. There we go. Alright. We turn this just like that. We don't want our pins falling into that long slot. I'm going to use the flat side, and let's hope it doesn't fall into that groove that you see right there. Okay, we're having... Oh, here we go. Come on. Getting hung up in there on something. Probably fell into the groove, be my guess. Alright, yeah, definitely, I can't even pull this core out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull my follower out. And we're looking at, oh, here we had a little T-pin there. I don't know, this is a homemade, looks like a homemade serrated. So I don't know which was which, I'll be honest with you. Making a mess of this, but sorry about that. But those grooves in these locks really causes some problems sometimes. Now I'm going to have to rotate this to actually let it fall into that groove. There's no other way to do this. We're just going to have to unpack this thing backwards. Get my tweezers up here. See how that looks like a little serrated got stuck right there? Oh boy. Alright, one last plan. I'm going to now push that pin back. This is definitely not a stock lock. So what I'm going to do, push that pin back maybe, rotate the core 180 degrees so that all those pins now pop out in the keyway. I don't know if you see that or not. Now we are going to unpack this backwards. Okay, another weird looking homemade thing. Next one is a serrated. Trying to do this one-handed. The next one is a serrated. A weird looking, I don't even know what you call it. Should be one more in there coming out. And it was a T-pin, a drunken T-pin. I'll show you how that works in just a moment. That was not a spool in number one. So the ones we thought were spools, and there's another spacer for this one. It rolled off. I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, let's move these guys up out of the way. What a nasty, nasty lock. Okay, let me get the move it wiped off. And take a look here. Okay, none of these are threaded, thank God, otherwise this could have been a nightmare. No other modifications to the core that I can see. Let me take a look at this, and let me dump the pins to see if he gave us weird size pins, and they look to all be the same size. So at least in terms of tension, we didn't have to worry too much about that. These are all the same, guys. And I don't see any mods in. There's really no way to mod the body, so I'm gonna have to assume that that's the same. But these pins are kind of nasty. Let me get my tweezers. I have dropped one of the wafers that goes on this last one. It rolled up against me. I can't find it right now, but it was rigged up exactly like pin number one. So in pin number one, we had basically a T-pin on the key pin, so that little tiny tit to get stuck in the shear line. And then we had a drunken spool. And the way a drunken spool works is that you have this wafer with the spring, of course, over here. And the reason you put the wafer there is to keep the tip of that T-pin from going down inside of your spring. That would be too easy. So it kind of rides there like that, and as you pick it, it just flops around inside of the cylinder. Makes it kind of nasty. To us, in this case, it felt like a spool, though. On this one, we got a homemade serrated, different widths. On this looks like a standard. Oh no, this is looks like it used to be a key pin, but it's all serrated, been turned upside down. Homemade serrated with a narrow end on it here. Homemade serrated with a wide, so that would really kind of screw you up when you're trying to figure out, is that the shear line or is that just another serration? And on this one we had another one of those drunken spools, but the wafer fell out and I don't see it laying around here. Anyway, sorry about the sloppy gutting, but when you've got non-standard locks that are pinned up just like this, sometimes the standard way of disassembly just doesn't work. I probably should have anticipated that, but I didn't. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, we're at 14 minutes. Sorry about that. But anyway, Johan Asdufkoas, thank you, sir, for the lock. What a challenge. What a lot of work you put into this. Everybody else, stay safe. Gentlemen, stay legal. Guys, sorry about that. I've forgotten that we had a key. You guys always like to see the keys, and I do too. So let's go ahead and tell you what, let's do this the fast way. Maybe. Come out of there. Alright, there's what your key looks like. Looks like all hand cut. Definitely a custom lock and a custom key. 7 pins, a couple of really low ones, and then you got some deep ones hiding behind the low cuts, making them hard to get to. But I got to tell you, with the hooks that he gave me, if I hadn't suspected it, might have taken a little bit longer. Those hooks were a big clue. So Johan, I appreciate that, sir.